Grüß Gott, ich bin Prairie. Willkommen. little German language. Today's topic is Resalest Remarkable Books, number 43. The first book today is Heaven by Angela Johnson, 1998. This is a wonderful children's book. It's set in Heaven, Ohio, a small town. The main character is named Marley, named after Bob Marley, just imagine. And she struggles with the new knowledge that she is adopted. Now, this is an interesting topic. Very often children are adopted when they're very, very young and they don't know, they're not really aware, they don't know things. And then eventually they have to be told, that, well, usually they're told. And then when they find out, it's hard. It can be traumatic. So this gets into that time period when an adopted child is told that they had been adopted. And then, of course, they're wondering, why did my parents, my real parents, give me up? And the thing is, like in our church, we believe that in reincarnation and that we choose our parents. Now, when you're adopted, you didn't choose your parents because and so there can be problems. But of course, we can work things out. And I think adoption is a wonderful thing because you have some people that really can't take care of children. They're either immature or very, very poor, and then you have others who can't have children because they're older or the mother couldn't get pregnant. So anyway, that's a beautiful story set in a small town, and I really enjoyed it. At the time, I was looking forward to moving to Marion, Ohio, because I had this belief that I could find happiness in a small town. Maybe another small town, but Marion, things didn't work out in Marion. Oh, by the way, I want to greet the Resalest students. Wax Parma, hope I pronounced your name right, Wax. Miguel Uy, John T. Foliantes, Kyle Aquino, Kayla Co., and J.R. Hollandoni. So thank you so much to all of you fine young people for your wonderful comments on the YouTube videos. Okay, and I wish you well. Congratulations on finishing the school year. The next book is Mulder of Dreams by Guy Rice Dowd, 1990. This is an outstanding, wonderful book. The author is from the small town of Staples, Minnesota. And he talks about his life, the challenges of childhood and family trouble in school. Growing up, he was fat and a slow learner. So just imagine, that's pretty tough. Other kids are making fun of him, and, he's kind of disappointing his teachers and his parents. And the thing is, the author, Guy Dowd, he grew up and he himself became a teacher. Wow. Even though he'd been a slow learner. And as a teacher, he loved his students and became a great teacher, a wonderful teacher. I cried a lot reading this book. So this is tremendous. It just shows when you're having struggles when you're young, that doesn't mean that you don't have a bright future, because you can. And look at this fellow. This is a good example that he had all these challenges growing up as a kid. Problems with his family and trouble in school, and actually those experiences that he had, I'm sure they can help us, and here he is. He became a wonderful teacher, and he really learned the importance of being kind to children and caring about them. And so this very inspiring, wonderful book. The next book is Between Parent and Teenager by Dr. Chaim G. Ginott, 1969. Well, this is a wonderful book. It gets into these, there's been so much conflict between parents and teenagers, particularly, nowadays with educational system. Education is extended so long, kids are in school so long, and it's like, such a long time, and they're really ready to work, actually, but they can't because they have to finish high school and college and so forth. So some of the concepts that the author talks about that parents can have to try to have better relationships with their teenage children is to accept them, their state of mind and the way they are and their personality, and keep quiet. Parents tend to talk too much and to be, and the kids get fed up with all this talk and to listen. Yeah, this is one of the most powerful things we can do to help other people is to listen to them. My father was a good listener. I have a good friend who's been a good listener, and it just really affirms the person. It's really empowering, very respectful, and it's just a tremendous quality and kind of rare. We all need to work on becoming better listeners, and love, of course, the most powerful trait of all. The children. This is we very often is forgotten in all the things that we're doing. The parents need to love their teenage children, and let teenagers learn. We're all learning, and the learning process takes time, and parents need to be patient with their teenage children. Patience is an underrated, very powerful quality. It's one of the great, wonderful qualities that Filipinos have. It's one of that makes them a tremendous people. Patience. People don't know how important it is because things take time, and we need to things take time. But if patience combined with other qualities can really help us to succeed in life. The next book is Joseph, Dreamer of Dreams, a biblical novel by Ellen Gunderson Traylor, 1989. Oh, I love this book. Very inspiring. This is the story of Joseph from the Old Testament of the Bible. And he was the youngest in a family. I think there were 10 brothers and maybe one sister, a really big family. And he was the favored child, the favored son. And his father gave him this beautiful coat. And his brothers were so jealous of him. And they decided to kill him. And then later they changed their mind and said, "No, let's not kill him. Let's just sell him into slavery." So that's what they did. His brothers sold him into slavery. And then as he was taken into Egypt, from Israel to Egypt, and he was a slave in Egypt, and he was actually in the Pharaoh's home, I believe in the Pharaoh's home, and then this woman, the wife of Potiphar. Potiphar was this high-ranking person. Potiphar had developed an interest in Joseph, thought he was attractive, and she wanted to have an affair with him. And he rejected her because he was a good man. That's the thing. Joseph was a good guy. He said, "No, you're married, and we're not married." And then she got mad and accused him of rape. Oh boy! And so this poor guy is already a slave, and he gets arrested, and he's in prison, and he has these dreams that and it comes around. It spreads. The knowledge spreads that this guy has these dreams, and apparently are prophetic. So the Pharaoh of Egypt is having. The Pharaoh is like the king of Egypt. He's having these dreams, and he wants to know what they mean. And he learns about Joseph, who apparently is able to interpret prophetic dreams. And so he calls this Joseph to him and asks him, what do the dreams mean? And Joseph tells him that the dreams mean there's going to be famine in Egypt. It's going to run out of food, because of drought or locusts or whatever. So he tells them, you should store up food because this drought is coming. There won't be food, and you need to store food to prepare for it. So the Pharaoh agrees to him, and everything happens that he says. The drought comes, and but they have prepared because they have a lot of food. And the Pharaoh becomes very impressed by Joseph, and he installs him as like his right-hand man. So Joseph becomes the second most powerful man in Egypt. Now, meanwhile, his brothers, there's famine throughout the Middle East, and they end up coming to Egypt to get food. And they encounter Joseph, and Joseph recognizes them, but they don't recognize him. And at first, he's very angry. He's furious. These guys, they sold him to slavery. His brothers, what a terrible, what a horrible thing to do to your brother. But since Joseph is a good man, he overcomes that, and he forgives them. And then, he tells them who he is, and they're reunited. And then the family ends up moving to Israel, staying in Egypt, rather. And then And then centuries later, of course, the Jews eventually become slaves in Egypt, and then Moses leads them back to Israel. So anyway, this is such an inspiring story. It shows that don't give up, no matter how hard life becomes. And it also, I think, the lesson is that character is what's important. If you're a good person, eventually good things will happen to you. And see, this Joseph, you'd think, oh my gosh, what could be worse than what had happened to him? But there was a purpose. There was a purpose that he had to become enslaved and to become imprisoned for him to be in the position to eventually meet the Pharaoh and save the entire Middle East from famine, including his own family. So really, really amazing. And it shows the power of forgiveness. And the thing is, since Joseph was a good man, eventually, and he went through very terrible hardships, but eventually good things happened to him. And I think this is true. You might go through hard times in your life, but try to, if we try to, with God's help, become better people, be good people, then good things will come to us. I strongly believe that. The next book is Lovers and Lawyers by Donald McQuaid, M.M., 1991. Now, this was a Christmas present from a friend of mine in the Philippines, Joji Dominguez, and whose sons we knew very well in Roosevelt Park, Daffy, Cholo, and the sister, Jazzle. Anyway, this is a spiritual book. A lot of it's about Saint Therese of Lisieux, who was this famous saint. They called her the Little Flower, and she died very young, but she's become very influential. A lot of people have prayed to her, and she had this amazing, I think the amazing thing she said was, God does not expect big things from us, only small things done with great love. Yeah, and I think also Mother Teresa of Calcutta said the same thing, this, which I think is tremendous, wonderful. People think, oh, they want to do big things in the world, and the thing is, and I think this is true. Do small things with great love, because this is what God needs. God needs us to do, and if we do that, that's something tremendous. So in our personal lives, so the people that we encounter, whoever we might meet, and that if we can be kind to them, be very, very kind, and then the world is going to evolve and become much better. And since God loves everyone, He doesn't love the way things are today with all the trouble and suffering, but people need to be kind to each other for things to change, and love God and love each other. There's also another chapter in this book about an American priest in the Philippines. Anyway, really enjoyed this book. Outstanding. The next book is Letters, Prison and Exile by Ninoy Aquino, 1983. Yeah, this is the letters of Ninoy Aquino, the husband of Cory Aquino and the father of Noynoy Aquino. And of course, he was really should have been elected president of the Philippines. Ferdinand Marcos was elected in 1965 and then reelected in 1969. And then Ninoy should have become president in 1973. He would have been elected, but instead he was imprisoned and eventually exiled to the U.S. He spent time in Boston, and he came back and was shot and killed in 1983 at the airport. But and that was certainly extremely tragic for his family, for his wife and children. They lost him, and but it led to the return of democracy in the Philippines, and then his widow became president, and his son, Noynoy. I wrote in my book diary, "The Dictators Must Go." And the thing is, it's not only dictators need to go, but we all have to stop acting like dictators in our personal lives. This dictatorship is cultural. And when you act dictatorial, you're not respectful of other people. We have to respect each other. We're all children of God, and we all deserve respect. And the dictator, whether he's the dictator of a country or of a family or whatever the situation, he's not being respectful of other people. And so it's not just the fact that we should be respectful, but also be assertive. And and not to defy people, but, to communicate, let people know sometimes, like, hey, that's whatever you're doing is not appropriate. So let's be kind and respect each other. And anyway, Ninoy Aquino is, a real hero in Philippine history, in my opinion. The next book is The Interior Castle by St. Teresa of Avila, 1577, simplified by John Venard, OCD, 1980. Oh, a beautiful book. One of the great saints in history, Catholic saint and Christian saint. She describes the road to liberation, which we are all eventually on, whether we know it or not, and the qualities, the things that make up this road of liberation, freedom in God, the end of suffering, love, and we need to love. We need to love everybody. Work, yes, we have work to do. We have to contribute. We're here in this world. Courage, very, very important quality. Suffering, yes, we do suffer, and it's part of it. Not that we should seek suffering, but it's part of life, and it's part of purification. And victory. We need to love God, love each other, and serve. Keep going. So this is a wonderful, the saints are very inspiring. They inspire us to live the right life, and to be good people, to love God and love each other, and to make a contribution to the betterment of this world. The next book is The Flame of Faith, compiled by David F. Woods, 1970. Now this was a book, when I came home to visit, that it was my mother's book, after my older sister died in 1971. So it has a number of spiritual quotes, very inspiring. And I know when my sister died, my parents, they turned to God for help, and eventually they did get help. They had a tough time, but this is what's important in life is spirituality, because life can be very, very tough. You never know what's going to happen in life, but if we develop ourselves spiritually through making an effort to seek God and to live a righteous life, to be good people, then we'll have a good life no matter what, and we can develop the strength to face the challenges that come in life, that come to every person's life. That with God's help, everything we can be happy and productive people. The next book is Prophet of the People, a biography of Padre Pio by Dorothy M. Gaudius, 1989. This is incredible. When you we read stories of the saints. Usually they lived a very long time ago. Now this saint, Padre Pio, lived in the 20th century. He lived in modern times. He died in 1968, not that long ago. Incredible life. He was a stigmatist. These people who have such a strong affiliation and attunement with Jesus Christ, that the wounds that Christ endured on the cross appear on them as well, on their hands and feet. This is a very inspiring story. He was really a holy man. It's actually, I'm sure if you go on YouTube, you can see videos of him. Although I think he was speaking in Italian, but it's wonderful. I really enjoyed this book. He carried a heavy cross well. He suffered for 50 years, but his suffering helped him to become a saint. And the thing that's interesting, he could be mean to help people change. Now that sounds, usually you think of saints as being very kind, peaceful people, and yes, almost most of the time they are, but at times they can be tough. And I know two stories from this book that I read talks about, at one point a guy came to see him, to meet with him, and Padre Pio got real mad, told the guy, told him to leave, go away. You know what you've done wrong, and I don't want to see you till you've fixed your mistake. So the guy left. He was very troubled. He's getting yelled at by Padre Pio, and then he knew what he was talking about, because he was about to get married, and the thing is, he had gotten a woman pregnant years before, and he had abandoned her. And then he realized that what he was talking. So he decided to break off this marriage. He's going to get married, and he found the woman that he had abandoned, that he had gotten pregnant, and he married her, and then he brought her and their child back to see Padre Pio, and Padre Pio was all smiles and kindness and happy, and and this is what he wanted. He wanted him to do the right thing, because he had he had done something wrong. And since, the saints know everything, they're like God. They have the same qualities, and Padre Pio knew that. So this had a very happy ending. I know sometimes when people, he would hear confession. And, in the 60s, there was the whole trend where women were wearing these short skirts. And he had, when a woman would come with a short skirt to hear to do confession, he would get mad at them and tell them to go away and come back dressed properly. He didn't approve of that because he thought, that this is the short skirts are not good. That it's promoting promoting sexuality and making women sexual objects where they could be, men could be, attracted to them in the wrong way. And so, anyway, Padre Pio, wonderful man, an incredible, and a saint in today in the 20th century. Really amazing. Really enjoyed this book. And in fact, I'm interested in reading more biographies of Padre Saint because he lived in the modern times. Wonderful. The next book is The New Adventures of William Tell by Anthony Horowitz, 1989. Yeah, I purchased this book in Switzerland when I was living there, and as a gift for my wife Alice. And it's the story of William Tell, this famous hero of Switzerland. The guy who shot there was like an apple on a guy's head, and he shot the apple. I can't remember. I think the guy whose head was under the apple, I don't know, was his brother or his father, or whatever. But anyway, he's the hero of Switzerland who fought the evil governor Gessler for his people. So he's considered a hero. I'm not sure if it's sort of a mythical story or not. But William Tell, the famous hero of Switzerland, the small country in Europe, in the Alps mountains, where I spent a couple of years. A very beautiful country. The next book is The Forgotten Woman, The Untold Story of Kastur, Wife of Mahatma Gandhi, by Arun and Sunanda Gandhi with Carol Lynn Yellen, 1998. Oh, this is a wonderful, wonderful book. Fascinating. The wife, Mahatma Gandhi, he's the guy he's very famous, famous in world history, the guy who fought from India, the guy who fought the British for independence. He wanted independence for India, and he used nonviolence. He became famous for those tactics. And actually, so this is the story of his wife, of course, and of course she was very much involved in this. They lived in South Africa for a number of years. There were a number of Indians in South Africa, and he was they were in prison many times for political reasons, and they had to move around a lot. And the thing is, his Gandhi's he was married and had children. And then his children, they were all affected by his political activities, and his children did not have a normal childhood. And I know the oldest son, the tragic thing I remember from this book is the oldest son, who from a young age was in prison with his father and the followers of Gandhi because of their activities against the British. So he really did not have a normal childhood, whereas Gandhi did. And he had this burden of being the oldest son. And at one point, he applied for a scholarship, and that was available. And then Gandhi decided, no, he should not be eligible because he's my son, and it would look like favoritism. And eventually, the oldest son became very bitter and very troubled. He actually married a Muslim woman. He became an alcoholic. And there's this very tragic scene when Gandhi and his wife were arriving at a train station, real famous, and there were a big crowd of people. And then the son showed up, and who had been off living on his own and with his wife and children. And he was a mess. He was all dirty, and he had a mango. And he came, and all these people. It was a public spectacle. He came and he brought the man. He looked at his father, and he just ignored his father. And he said, to the most wonderful mother in the world, I present this mango. And she was embarrassed. And the son died of alcoholism. Really tragic. But anyway, this Kastur Gandhi, she went through a lot, and she was a good wife, and they all sacrificed because of what Gandhi did for India. And of course, India eventually did become independent. And like other countries, now they face their own challenges of government. It's not that easy governing your own country, but it's better. Sooner or later, countries need to learn how to govern themselves. This is a wonderful book, tremendous book, of the wife of Mahatma Gandhi, Castor. The next book is Abraham Lincoln, The Prairie Years by Carl Sandburg, 1926. This is a 2-volume set, a very old biography of Abraham Lincoln. Outstanding book, inspiring. What a great man. Lincoln grew up very poor, and extremely poor, and his childhood was filled with outdoor work. They were pioneers. They had to chop down trees to make their house, log cabin, a lot of hunting, and they had to turn forests into farmland. Had to cutting down a lot of trees, which that's really tough, and removing stumps and then farming itself. Excuse me. As a young man, Lincoln became a small-town lawyer. He was actually self-taught. He was a very educated man, but he was only in school for a couple years. Very little formal schooling, but he had an insatiable desire to learn and read books. In fact, his father used to get mad at him for reading books. His father was, a practical guy, and all he knew is there was all this work that needed to be done. And whenever he saw Lincoln reading, he didn't like it, because he didn't believe in it. He didn't think it was important. He thought, well, you're just going to be a farmer. All you need to know is your numbers and a little ABCs, a little reading and writing, but that's about it. Anyway, Lincoln, because of all his experiences and the books he read, he loved to tell stories. He was very funny, liked to tell jokes. He was a profound thinker, a philosopher, but also very realistic because of his this childhood and the need to make a living. And eventually, of course, he got into politics, and he was elected president of the United States in 1860. And this was on the southern states had seceded from the Union. They'd broken off and formed their own country. And this is a very, very tough situation. The issue of slavery had divided the United States, and North so much. In the North, so many people thought this is horrible. Slavery. That needs to end. And then in the South, they were making a lot of money from cotton, and then a lot of people were trying to promote slavery. So this was this huge conflict that we had. And not long after he became president, the Civil War started between North, which was just an absolutely terrible, horrible thing. So many guys died. I think about 750,000 Americans died. It was devastating for our country. Now, before he left, when he was at the train station in Springfield, he gave a short speech, and he said this, quote, "I will make the South a graveyard rather than see a slavery gospel triumph or successful secession destroy the Union. I go to assume a task more difficult than that which devolved upon General Washington. Behind the cloud, the sun is still shining." So he knew he was facing a really, really tough situation. But, he was going to do it. He was a very kind, brave, funny, smart, hardworking, honest, tremendous man, real hero in American history, and he kept going, and because without Lincoln, I think if it had been another president, the South would have broken off. The North, another president would have said, "Okay, fine, this is too much trouble. Too many guys are dying," and we would have broken into two countries. And if we broke into two countries, we could have broken into 3 or 4 or more. And then what? We wouldn't be our country today. We wouldn't be one United States. We wouldn't have been able to play the role we did in the Second World War. He helped end slavery. God bless Abraham Lincoln, a man who served his country well. We're out of time. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you find a good book to read. God bless you. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.